Sometimes in life you want to go fast, but you want to keep it clean. Hello folks, we are back with another lesson drop and I'm going to be going into something a little bit special today. I've been teaching quite a lot of glazing recently and it's a technique that I absolutely love because it is so powerful in how it allows us to use acrylic paints to make really nice smooth blends. However, one of the problems with the full glazing blend method is it's so painfully slow. It takes such a long time, and whilst it does give fantastic control, brilliant smoothness and is very easy to learn how to execute, sometimes you just don't want to pump hours and hours into the miniature to get it done. So I have a little combination technique here that incorporates wet blending and glazing together to produce something that I think is really sweet. I'm going to take you to the lesson drop now so you can have a look at me and my good friend Z going over this technique, teaching them what it's all about and having a good time while we're at it. Now that I've got at least, reasonably smooth paint on here, I'll start just putting some blends in now. So we'll do the yellow into the orange first of all. All I'm really doing here is just working up and down around this point of transition. I'm not really worrying too much about the length of the blend. I'm just kind of focused around this point of transition. And when I'm wet blending here, I'm also doing quite a lot of stippling. You can see how like the two have sort of dissolved into each other really nicely. But it's mostly just stippling. There's not actually a ton of like really secure wet blending there. Because obviously I know I'm going to glaze over, so like there doesn't need to be. Same as when I work the red end of the blend down here. It's mostly just about getting this exact point of transition to calm down and not be too lumpy. As long as I nail the exact point of transition, the rest of it will kind of come in with the glazes. I also eat a lot of paint when I wet blend. That's not for everyone, but it is how I do it. But you can see now on the top side of that blade, just here, like my yellow is blended into my orange and my orange is blended into my red. So for the sake of brevity, like I'll finish this off completely at some point because I'll actually do this flaming blade for this guy. But yeah, for the sake of just trying to be something close to concise, I'll just do one side of the blade. So once I've got it in roughly like that, what I can then do is just glaze some of the yellow to get a bit more of a nice transition on my blend. Just glaze up from like halfway through my orange. Oh, I've actually just peeled back a bit of paint there. That's a little bit upsetting. Occupational hazard, Sometimes when you're trying to demonstrate stuff like this, you sort of just move a little bit faster than you should, and that can lead to things like that happening. Paint just hadn't quite dried, so it started to lift a little, but I'll fix it as I go. Yeah, reinforcing these glazed blends with wet blends was definitely a eureka moment for me. It was like, oh fuck, that's how I do it without it taking all day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just that back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it's just like.
Yeah, like which don't get me wrong, like it totally works. It's an absolutely fine way of doing it. It's just really slow, and like most of us don't want to spend that long on a miniature. If it's for a commission, you've got to be time sensitive from like what you're charging your customer point of view, right?
Right.
And if it's a personal piece, you've got to be time sensitive from a while I'm painting this, I could be painting something that's earning me money kind of perspective. So like either way, if there's a way that you can get really smooth glazed blends in less time, then, you know, you should be doing it, right? But the thing is, obviously, it's not as beginner friendly as what I showed. You know, like in that lesson that I showed recently where I taught someone who'd never glazed before how to glaze. Like, I can't teach that person this because this relies on you also knowing how to wet blend, right? Whereas someone like you that's kind of been painting for years, like, you know the basic principles of wet blending. You know, even if I just give you a quick refresher on it, you're going to know what you're doing after just seeing me do it once.
Yeah.
Because you've got so much painting experience. You can see, I mean, we had like, it was really like 3 sections of color maybe 10 minutes ago. And, you know, you could stop here. Like, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to carry on because we're just chatting while we're doing it. But you could totally stop there. And that's not, like, that wouldn't be embarrassing, you know, that looks fine.
Yeah.
So here's a cool thing that it's not related to what we've been discussing, but it does relate specifically to when you do a blade like this. Instead of doing an edge highlight on it in a really light color, if you take black and edge highlight it in black, you can kind of be a little bit messy with this edge highlight as well. You don't really need to do it cleanly. And then you can kind of just getting the consistency in my paint right. You can kind of just sort of spot in some paint towards the tip here. You get this you get this really neat kind of comic book style glowing, like, forge sort of look.
That's rad.
That's just a neat little thing that it just happens to go with this blend, so I just thought I'd show it to you. But yeah, if you've ever got, like, you know, really nice bright colored blends like this, it's just a cool thing you can do with them. And you can, you know, you can go further if you want to, like, take some ice yellow and some of your top yellow from your blend. Obviously you don't want pure ice yellow because it's just a little bit too bright, but you could then kind of come into these areas where the yellow blend is at its most intense and just sort of dot in some kind of lighter business going on there. Maybe a little touch of it going on up here. Maybe even kind of continue it through as like a little kind of thread of energy running through or something. It's just a really neat kind of, you know, hyper stylized approach that you can take to a power weapon. Something that, if you want a power weapon that, like, nobody else will have. So there you have it, a pretty simple, pretty straightforward way to get all that nice smoothness of a glaze, but not quite have to waste just so much time doing it. The combination of a wet blend underneath giving you a ton of extra time efficiency, but still giving you that beautifully smooth effect. I hope you'll give this a try and let me know what you think of it. If you do already have any opinions on it just from watching the video, get at me in the comments and let's talk about that. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, and you can subscribe to the channel and enable notifications if you want to stay up to date on what I'm doing here on YouTube. I also have a Patreon that you can support from as little as $1 American a month. There's links to that along with all my social medias in the description, and don't forget to check out our amazing sponsor, Lazy Dragon Gaming. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.